Did you know that divorce and moving rank in the top 5 most stressful life events? And unfortunately, sometimes we're doing both of those at the same time. So today we're going to talk about finding the perfect rental for you and your kids as a separated or divorced mom. Rentals are, depending where you live, super hard to come by. I mean, a good rental. And so it's important that one, you create your list of things that are must-haves for you and things that you can do without. As a former real estate agent in New Jersey, I kind of compiled 6 things that definitely need to be considered when you're selecting the next place where you're going to live. And the reason for that is this. 12 months go by really quickly, and you don't want to find yourself having to move again, either because you hate the location, you have a crappy landlord, your commute is terrible. And let's face it, it's also really expensive. And if you are a divorced mother, you really need to hold on to your money and not, spend it unnecessarily on mistakes that can be avoided. And selecting a rental, if you pick the wrong one, is definitely a mistake that can turn out to be extremely costly for you. For that reason, again, I'm going to be sharing 6 things that I always used to recommend my clients do, and also did for myself when it was time for me to look for an apartment. The first thing that you have to do is assess your budget. This is number 1. Don't make rental appointments with a realtor if you're unsure of your budget or you haven't given it much thought. It cannot be the last thing that you do. And I know it's difficult because when you're going through something emotional, the last thing you want to do is sit down and look at money, which can be even more stressful, but you have to, right? Otherwise, you're going to be looking at things that you cannot afford, or you'll move into something that you thought you could afford, but turns out now you're house broke with kids and grocery bills and all that stuff. So definitely assessing your budget should be at the top of the list. And for watching this video, I'm going to give you a little tip at the end that you absolutely need to do before you move into any rental or any property. The next thing to consider is your family size. Typically, you might just be moving into a 2-bedroom if you have, 2 kids or more. But I would urge you, if you can afford a 3rd bedroom and you need it, that you opt for an apartment that is suitable for everyone in your household. You're going to be spending a lot more time in your apartment, and so it's important that you can create different spaces for, whatever activity you have going on. If somebody needs quiet time, that they can have their own quiet corner. If somebody's a little more rambunctious, that they have their play area. If you work from home, you need to be able to have, your home office set up and all that good stuff. So definitely consider your size and consider your lifestyle, because that's one thing that definitely should be top of mind. Even though you're going through a divorce, you definitely should want to be able to maintain some of the things you currently do, right? So that you feel like you're returning back to normal or your new normal as soon as possible rather than later. The next thing I urge you to consider is to explore, depending where you live, the various housing options. For example, downsizing, if you've lived in a home, could be hard, you know what I mean? But there are, for example, 2-family homes that have very spacious apartments. You might want to consider that. You can also move into a condo, a townhouse, and depending where you live in the country, even a mobile home. Now, before you come at me for suggesting a mobile home, those things are built way better than they were back in the day. And depending on your budget and your finances and how much income you make, you might, in the area that you're in, that might also be an option for you. Another thing that you could consider is to leverage rental assistance programs. Now, these vary by area and by income and by the amount of kids that you have. But definitely explore them, because even if you don't qualify for certain programs, you might meet other, come across other charities and, other groups of women that help one another in the community that you're going to be living in. The fifth one, and probably the most important, at least for me, okay, was location, location, location. I wanted an apartment that was close to both of my daughter's schools, and also close to busing, transportation, and airport, because I travel. So, well, at the time I used to travel a lot for work. I don't really travel that much anymore, but that was important for me. I didn't want to be, having to travel an hour or two after landing to get home. That just wasn't good use of my time. I wanted to land and be home within 20, 30 minutes tops. Another reason why location is important is because if you have kids, and you want them to get bused to school, not every town offers that. So that's something that you need to also look into. Some towns also offer free commuter parking. Others do not. You know what I mean? So I picked a town for myself that had free extracurricular activities for the kids, free sports, busing. The bus stop was around the corner from me. The train station was less than a mile away from me. The airport was under 25 minutes from me. So all of those things were important. And on top of that, I wanted it to be a walkable community that was nice. I love pretty things. I did not want to live in a busted neighborhood with garbage everywhere. I wasn't interested in it. I didn't want my girls walking around that kind of neighborhood. And speaking of walking, we have a little dog. So I also wanted my daughter to feel comfortable walking her dog around the neighborhood. And for that, I was willing to pay a premium for my rental. So that's just putting it out there as something to give some thought. So just because a rental is cheaper in a different city or town doesn't necessarily mean that it's better for you, right? Because there's just so many things to consider. And so maybe paying the extra $200, $300 a month in rent is a lot, but if you get all those added benefits, I think it's worth it. Because if you have to pay somebody to take your kid to school, you're going to be dropping a couple $100s a month. If your school doesn't have, an after care program or an early morning care program, you're going to be paying for that too. If you live in a town where they don't have free commuter parking, you're going to be paying for that too, on top of your commuter monthly pass. So don't just look at, this rental is $200, $300 more. Look at, what am I getting for those extra, few $100 versus saving them and then having to pay for all these other things on your own. So the sixth thing that I would want to talk about is be a savvy renter. Get renter's insurance to protect all of your items. I don't think could be anything worse on top of going through a divorce and moving. If something happens, like a fire, that you lose all your belongings and now you have to come out of pocket to replace everything. So definitely get renter's insurance. It's really, depending where you live, not that expensive. I never paid more than $15 a month for my renter's insurance, and it gave me a tremendous amount of peace of mind. That's one thing. And also be savvy. When I was looking for my rental, I didn't negotiate a discount with my landlord, like, hey, can you, take off $50, $100? I didn't do that. So when talking to him, I noticed that cleaning the snow in the front of the house was an issue for him. So I had owned a house previously, so cleaning snow was nothing for me. I was like, hey, I'll do it. He took $100 off of my rent per month, okay, just because I offered to be responsible for cleaning the snow in front of the house. Now, our winters here are only a few months, and it doesn't even snow every month. So I was able to shave $1,200 off of my rent for something that I only did a few times a year. right? So things like that. I did actually compile a PDF with all of these things. It breaks out those 6 points that I just gave you, along with some bullet points underneath that are also helpful. There's also a cute little page that says, hey mama, don't forget all these other rental features like a dishwasher. You don't want to be doing dishes, by hand every evening. So it's nice to have a dishwasher. Definitely helpful to have a washer and dryer in your unit. Again, this goes back to, assessing your budget. Yes, it may cost you, an extra $200, $300 to have some of these little perks. But the alternative is that, you're going to be living in your house. You're going to have 2 weeks worth of laundry. It's going to be crazy. And now you got to go to a laundromat and spend your precious weekends at a laundromat. I was not going to do that. So, those were just some things that were important to me. Also, when you're walking around through the unit, you want to open up the faucets and check your water pressure in all of your faucets, including your shower. There's nothing worse than washing your hair and having a little trickle of water. So you definitely want to make sure that when you're scheduling your tours that you're opening the cabinets up, you're looking for any signs of roaches, rodents, deal breakers. All deal breakers for me, because you just don't want to discover these things once you're in the unit and you are, locked in for the term of your lease. So this PDF that I created here, it also has a sheet that you can take with you when you're going through your rental tours. You can write the address down and then whatever little nuances you realize. Because when you look at 4 and 5 apartments in a weekend, when you go home, you're not going to remember, oh, this was there or was this over there. So if you have your list with you and you're taking down your notes, you can go back and make an intelligent choice for you and your family. And now for my last, actually, I was going to share one secret, but I'm going to share 2 secrets with you that are going to help you. The first one is with your budget. Now, I don't know if this works in other states, but in the state of New Jersey, you used to be able to call PSC&G and say, hey, I'm getting ready to move to this unit. Here's the address. Can you look at the utilities for the last 12 months and give me an average cost? They will not tell you what the previous renter used to pay for privacy reasons, but they used to give you an average. And so with that average, you can better calculate, what your monthly budget is going to be. The second tip that I have for you is this. Try to negotiate a 18-month lease for yourself. Instead of a 12-month lease, try to negotiate an 18-month lease, because that means that for 18 months, your rent is not going to go up. So you'll have 18 months to adjust to your new life with the same budget. I mean, if you can get a 24-month lease, that would be better. It depends, right? Because just the way the landlord is locked in with you, you're also locked in with your landlord. And if it's a shitty landlord and now you have a 2-year lease, that could kind of be annoying. But an 18-month lease, 12 months, in my opinion, they go by really, really quickly. 18-month is like a really good sweet spot, which also goes back to making sure that you have a list of all the things that you must have in your rental versus all the wants. Like, for example, for me, it was important that the landlord maintain the property clean. I didn't want to walk through any dirty, creepy hallways. I didn't want my daughters to do that either, right? So having thought all of this out before you go look for your rental is going to help you a lot. So that's it for this topic. I hope you find it really helpful. If you have any additional questions, please feel free to put them in the comments. I'm happy to answer them. And I'll see you in the next video. Take care. Bye.